There was news yesterday as Joe Brady got promoted. He's now the head coach in Buffalo. Mike McCarthy took over officially with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you had the Belichick news that dwarfed all of that. Dominique Foxworth, host of the Dominique Foxworth Show, ESPN NFL analyst, joining us on the program. Hey, did you hear Bill Belichick's not getting in the Hall of Fame, Dominique?
I didn't realize how lucky the Bills are today that we're not dissecting the decision that they made to essentially promote everybody except for the coach and send him packing. And also, I guess the Steelers are dodging a little bit of hell today also. But yeah, Bill Belichick didn't get in and people are mad. Jimmy Johnson called everybody a-holes and then started telling on everyone else cheating scandals. Did you see that tweet that he sent out?
I did not.
Oh, I'll have to look it up and read it to you. Oh.
Why didn't Bill Belichick get in first ballot?
I mean, none of the explanations seem like good. The only good explanation is one that hasn't really been presented yet, is he's still kind of a professional coach. And like, I don't have any opposition to putting guys in while they're still active, but that's traditionally not something you can do. You have to be 1 year removed, or for players, 5 years removed from having played. He's coaching college now, which like he's getting paid a lot of money to run a program. So I guess you could make the argument that he might come back to the NFL. And we've seen like Mike Shanahan's a coach who I think is like the father of most of modern NFL offenses, and he still hasn't gotten in yet. In part, I think because they want to wait until coaches are fully retired. But that's not the excuse that's been brought up. It's this Spygate stuff and it's explanations for how convoluted the process is. Those are really bad excuses for a guy who won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach, 2 as an assistant coach, and kind of like ushered in the generation of like flexible edge rushers. So yeah, it's baffling.
Okay, what's this mean for Tom Brady?
Nothing. No, like Bill Belichick has just actively been essentially been his fullback. Nobody's going to do that to Tom Brady. And I also think Tom Brady has done a better job with relationships than Bill Belichick. And that's one of the things that we haven't focused on. And this very much that a lot of the voting is about relationships, and different teams will promote different guys. And if you like somebody, you're going to be more prone to vote for him. Like, I think that Tom Brady has done an excellent job of promoting those relationships. He's a part owner of a team and the lead broadcaster on one of the biggest partners. Like, I don't think Tom Brady's going to have nearly as much trouble getting into the Hall of Fame as it seems like Bill Belichick is.
Okay, why isn't Robert Kraft in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, again, I think it's about relationships, and it's the Game of Thrones behind the scenes is sometimes more interesting. Don Van Natta and Seth Wickersham has made careers out of exposing some of that stuff. That is so much more interesting in some cases than what's actually happening on the field, and I think that speaks to it. Older guys, I think you get a little bit more sympathy. They're more likely to put you in, but I think often there are people, and we've heard about some of the rivalries that Robert Kraft has had in the league and some of the issues, and that might bleed into, we saw that documentary that he put out, that might bleed into some of the opinion of Bill Belichick. I think all this stuff matters, but people, it is nice to have all of America agree on an election, right? It feels good. It's kind of cool. Remember what that was like?
Yeah, long time ago.
It was wonderful.
Joe Brady got promoted.
Yeah.
I said last hour, I thought this was uninspiring. If you're going to change, and you're going to change by firing your head coach, I don't know if you can keep your GM and promote your offensive coordinator without sort of being the same team next year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I like to, it's often easy just to be like, that was dumb. I like to extend some like assumed strategy and intelligence to the owners and people who run the teams. Terry Pagula, when he did that press conference, made it really hard to continue to assume some sort of strategy and intelligence. But I think without them having said this, if you're trying to look for a logical reason why they did this, it's because of Liam Cohen. Like, that's the reason, honestly. It's like you have a good coach on your staff, which the Bucs had, and you let him leave. And it's something that's happened a bunch of times. The Ravens are a good example of that also. Mike McDonald was on the staff. You let him leave. He goes to become a head coach and maybe one of the best coaches in the league at Seattle, and then you fire your coach the next year. Like, that's the only thing that possibly makes sense, is they were seeing Joe Brady as someone who was gaining a lot of attention, and sooner or later they were going to lose to some other organization. And while they did present a bunch of other reasons for why they made the decision that they made, if you look at the collection of all the decisions that they made and where they ended up, that's the only thing that makes sense. Either that or they really think Sean McDermott was so bad of a coach. He's the one lone piece that is holding them back, which is absurd when you also listen to the owner say that the only reason why they lost is because of bad call. So yeah, only thing that makes sense is they love Joe Brady and they didn't want to lose him to some other team.
Mike McCarthy going back home, emotional. This isn't a typical hire for the Steelers, but he does help. He develops quarterbacks, and he can elevate an offense that's been, a bottom feeder for almost a decade now. I know we look at his age. They like to get that 35-year-old defensive coordinator. Your thoughts on Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some incongruent thoughts in that one also, where it's like we hired a coach who we believe is good at developing quarterbacks, but this coach seems to want a fully developed quarterback to return, which Aaron Rodgers is. So, like, that's the part that doesn't make sense is and maybe he's just saying that because he has to say it, but if this team is serious about turning the page, at some point, I think they're going to have to move on from this Band-Aid situation that they've been doing for the quarterback position. They're going to have to start using draft picks and signing free agents. I don't think Mike McCarthy is a bad hire. Obviously, it's kind of an uninspired hire, but what it suggests to me is something that Mike Tomlin actually did surprise them with this. It felt like to me like there's no way that he could be there for as long as he has and not have hinted towards the ownership that this might be my last year. But it seems like the way they reacted to it, he was really shocked.
Talking to Dominique Foxworth of the Mothership, former NFL cornerback. And next Thursday, February 5th from 6 to 7:30 Pacific, the Dominique Foxworth and Friends live at the Strand. Look at you.
Yeah, having fun out in San Francisco for a live pod. Mina Kimes will be there, Marcus Spears and Kevin Clark. All the proceeds are going to go to the Special Olympics. So please do. FoxworthPodLive.com. Get on there, buy some tickets.
The Denver Broncos firing coaches yesterday, kind of quietly, because we're still trying to digest the 4th-and-1 call, and now Sean comes out and says, hey, I would have gone for it. I would have called it better play, paraphrasing. I mean, you won 14 games, and now you're like, they had an excuse with Bo Nix. They probably win that game, and you'd be in the Super Bowl. But, like, are these jobs that tenuous that it's like, no, we lost, you're gone?
Yeah, Sean Payton is a powerful guy. He's never been shy about making these type of decisions. I think that there's one way to look at this where you're like, hey, we can always get better. That's commendable that they are going to be aggressive, because you look back at their season, as good as their season was, there's a lot of single score games. And while you could walk away and be and feel good at scapegoating the injury to your quarterback in the weather, I think that whatever happened, obviously there's a longer track record. I don't think the result of the season is why they made that decision. And then you can look at the Jets too, which also did some curious things that at some point someone's got to.
Any coaches aside from Aaron Glenn?
Again, talk about strategy. And I said at the beginning of this, is like, I like to extend the assumption that these owners are at least reasonably intelligent in making some sort of plan. It's so hard to put together the last decade of decisions by the Jets and find like a through line of a strategy or some belief. Like they had a bad season. They gave up on it midway through, and then somehow held every coach but the head coach accountable for a season that they obviously gave up on. Like, I don't know what's happening in that building, so it's hard for me to project, but I know it's ugly. And if I was a fan, I mean, I guess they probably lost hope a long time ago, but I'd be pretty pissed.
Cleveland needs a coach. Vegas needs a coach. Arizona needs a coach.
Yeah.
You want to fill those voids? Is somebody coaching in the Super Bowl who might get one or two of those jobs?
Yeah, it feels like all of those jobs, right? That's the only way that it feels like that Otherwise, they've been getting rejected by people that they want, right? And that makes it look even worse. These jobs are few and far between. For people not to take that opportunity is surprising to me. And we saw McDaniel from Miami. We saw him go to the Chargers, which like that opportunity seemed great, but my assumption is he could have gotten one of these other jobs and maybe he didn't want it. But given how he dresses, I feel like he's going Miami to LA next. At some point, man, got to go to Vegas, right? Like, I feel like it's the only other place that Miami, LA, Vegas, the only other place that he can go.
Does anybody want the Browns job? I mean, it feels like they might just say to Jim Schwartz, we're going to hire you because we don't want to be rejected anymore.
That's a bad way to go about hiring a coach, but
Yes,
it might work out. He's a guy with experience, and that team obviously respects. The defense has been great all the way through, but you can expect if they take him off of the defense and make him a head coach, it's possible the defense could take a step back. The thing about the Browns job is on paper, when you look at the way, one of the reasons why I think the Ravens job is attractive because you have a front office that consistently will give you quality talent. The Browns have done a pretty good job of building up this roster. I think you can point to the major decision, which was an ownership decision to bring in Deshaun Watson as a terrible one. But other than that, they've done above average in their drafts and decision making. So it's not that bad of a job. The organization isn't as poorly run as the results seem to suggest, from what I understand, but it's still the Browns. And there's still the benefit of having a low bar, but also the challenge of there's really no culture to speak of. And people will turn on you immediately because they assume that it's the same old Browns. There's no faith in the same way that you would have with the Steelers. No one has that for the Browns.
What about Arizona?
Yeah, that one is another situation where the complaint that I've heard from candidates about the Arizona situation is commitment from the ownership. And that's always a big question is what the ownership is going to do for an organization, or do for a coach to support them. And that's something that's been hanging over that organization. So someone will take that job. There are some jobs that aren't A-level jobs. And it feels like the Bengals fall into that category, despite the fact that they have a quarterback. And the Cardinals, one of the oldest franchises in football, also feel like one of those organizations that doesn't feel like an A-level job.
I was wondering about this, and may be crazy and off topic here, but let's say Matthew Stafford decides he's going to retire. Mm-hmm. The Rams, you got 2 first-round picks. Do you reach out to the Bengals? What do you think?
Yeah. Reach out to the Bengals and offer those picks for their quarterback?
Yeah.
Shit. It's going to take more than that.
Okay, that's a starter. That's a starter.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you can throw it at him, but I'm hanging up the phone if I'm the Bengals and you reach out for Joe Burrow for that. I think for Joe Burrow to move, it's going to require him to force his way out, which is not a very unfootball. It's a very NBA style behavior. You rarely see football players force their way out, especially quarterbacks. But I can't imagine that there's enough compensation where it would not be received the way the Luka Doncic trade was received. If anyone moves on from their top level quarterback who's still in their prime, when quarterbacks are playing for 20 years, I know Burrow's been injured a lot, but moving on from your quarterback, you will lose everybody. Because you are then acquiring a bunch of draft picks in hopes that you can find someone nearly as good as Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but you get him on a rookie deal. It felt like there was a disconnect between him and front office, not happy. So I don't know. I just throwing it out there.
It's the dream. It's the dream like Herschel Walker trade situation where you can set yourself up for a dynasty if you move on from a super talented player at the right time. I get the idea, but it better work.
Dominic, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Appreciate you, Dan.
That's Dominique Foxworth. You can see him in person. That'll be next Thursday in San Francisco, along with Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, Kevin Clark. And it's Dominique Foxworth and friends live at the Strand. Go to foxworthpodlive.com.